What's up, everyone? Jeremy Gerard from Mythic Customs here with one of my short customizing tutorial videos. Today's video is more of a conversation, actually. I want to answer a question or a kind of question that I get very frequently. It's around painting. So I routinely get different customizers, a lot of newer customizers that reach out to me and ask me certain questions about painting. And they have very specific situations where they say, if I do this, what will the result be? Or, I want to try this. Do you think that's going to work? And it's a really challenging question to answer because the truth is the answer is maybe it will work. I don't know. One of the things that I think you need to realize when you are starting to customize and starting to paint is that there is an infinite number of variables that go into doing this customization work, specifically into doing painting. So, just off the top of my head, some of the variables that you're going to deal with are the kind of paint. So, depending on the type of paint you're going to use. I use a lot of Vallejo paint. If you're using, say, Citadel, that those are two very, very different types of paint. They're both really great quality, but an experience that I have with one paint may not translate to what you're going to find with a different paint. In honesty, I've had times where I get two bottles of Vallejo paint, same exact color. I get them, months or a year apart, and the results I get from those two different bottles of the same color are wildly different. One may be much more watery than the other. You never know. So, my point is that when you reach out to somebody and you ask them, if I use this paint, what's the result going to be? It it depends. It could be very, very different because the tube you're working with is certainly different than the one I'm working with. And if you're talking about totally different colors, totally different types of paint, then all bets are off. That's very, very different. The temperature. So the temperature is a huge variable. I live here in the Northeast. I live in Rhode Island. So Rhode Island is an area where in the wintertime, we literally can get under 0 degrees. And in the summertime, we can get over 100. That type of extreme temperature fluctuation within one calendar year. The results that I'm going to get in the dead of winter are wildly different than the results I get in the heat of summer. And I'm accustomed to that. I know how to adjust my process for that. But it's a challenge. If you're contacting me from a totally different area, I may not know exactly what temperature you're dealing with, and something that may work for me may have different results for you. I was recently talking to someone who was looking at some of my tutorials, and I tend to spray all of my pieces down before I start painting. I tend to use a Krylon flat black base coat. That's my go-to. And this person told me that unfortunately where they live, they cannot spray anything. They can't use any kind of aerosol paints. And they were asking for my opinion on the results that they're going to get. And what I said was, it's really hard for me to tell you because I'm laying out a certain process and you can't do parts of that process. If you can't spray with the base coat and instead you're going to brush it on, that's a variable. That's going to be different. I also use spray sealer to seal it up when I'm done. If you can't spray that sealer and you instead want to use a brush on sealer, it may work fine. It may be exactly what the results that I get, or it may not. So these are all variables to consider. The paints you use, the brushes you use, the temperature and climate and elevation of where you are, the materials you're using. If I'm going to do a tutorial, if I'm going to do, a custom on certain parts and you're going to try to follow them on different parts, different material, different base color to begin with, you will get differences. So I'm saying all of this, and it may seem daunting. It may seem like, well, how am I going to figure out how to do all of this? And the answer to that, the point that I'm leading towards is the way you figure out how it's going to work for you is by doing it. You need to go through trial and error. That's all of, I mentioned that, I've learned how to adjust based on different temperatures in my location. That's what you need to learn. And you only learn that through time, through doing the actual work. So I tell people all the time, Mythic Legions figures, they're not inexpensive. it's it's cost prohibitive to buy a bunch of these just to use as sample cases. So get other figures, get cheap figures, get accessories, try practicing on those to see, to learn how to use the paints, to learn how the different conditions work. Yeah, the plastics on those figures may be different than the Mythic Legions figures, but at least you're knocking out some of the variables, because that's what it's all about. And that's what it's all about, in my opinion, at least I should say, is understanding how your brushes work, how your paints work, how your sprays work, how paint is going to adhere to these materials in different climates and different times of the year. As you start to adjust and know what to expect, and you start to eliminate some of those variables, you're going to get more and more skill. So when you reach out to me or any other customizer and ask them for their opinion on something, or even if you just follow their tutorial videos, the tutorial videos that I shoot, I try to, follow a process, but I'm very clear in saying this is what works for me. This is not the only way to make this work. It's like cooking. It's like, following a recipe. You have to adjust to your own tastes. You have to adjust to your own unique set of circumstances. So when it comes to customizing Mythic Legions figures or any action figures, the number one lesson that I will tell you is you've got to do the work. You've got to try it out. You've got to make mistakes, because when you make mistakes, you understand what doesn't work, and it gets you that much closer to figuring out what does work. So if you've got questions about painting, you can definitely send them my way. I will do my absolute best to answer them. But remember that your unique circumstances will change the outcome of exactly what you're going to get. And you need to do the work for yourself to figure out exactly how best to do it for yourself. If you enjoy videos like this, if you find this helpful, I didn't really do anything today. I didn't do a tutorial, but hopefully this kind of gave you some inspiration to say, you know what, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to get the work done and see what results I get. So if you enjoy that, if you find it helpful, please give the video a like. If you have any questions about painting or otherwise, hit me up in the comments. I do my best to answer all those questions. And if you like the channel, if you find the content valuable, consider following my channel so you are notified when videos like this go live. Until next time, I can't wait to see what you make.